Stephanie Frankel is with me. But here's something that you ought to know. 1 out of 5 women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. Now, the most likely targets are girls 16 to 20. So how on earth do we keep them safe? Today, 2 very brave women, both survivors of violent attacks, are here to teach us how to guard our girls. My first guest, Angela Rose. Angela, so good to have you here. You really should not be here today. You sort of absolutely kind of go past the normal statistics of a person who was abducted. How old were you when this happened?
I was 17 years old. It was broad daylight on a July summer evening, and I was walking to my car, and I actually felt this fleeting chill all the way down my spine, and I stopped in my tracks. I was singing out loud. I had a CD in my hand, and I turned around, and there was someone following me. And I remember those fire alarms going off in my body, but thinking, oh, instead of me running, my cheeks turned red. I thought, oh, he had heard me singing, and I was embarrassed. Walked to my car, put my key in the lock, and I saw the shadow come up, and then I saw his reflection in the window, and he grabbed me from behind, and he put a knife to my throat. His car was parked right next to mine, and he threw me in the car, bound my wrist behind my back, and put Band-Aids and sunglasses on my face. It happened in an instant.
And you were with him for what, 5 hours?
About 5 hours, and he didn't know that I could see, but it was down to the left and down to the right that I was able to see. And I can remember getting a phone call, or my mom getting a phone call that I had been murdered. This image in my head.
That was playing in your head right there.
In my head, just like a movie. And it was really that image that gave me the strength. And it was a conscious decision. I said, if I get out of this alive, there's no way that he's getting away with this.
Did you think he was going to kill you?
I did, and I think that was the most traumatic part of it. I found out later he actually was on parole for murder.
Mm.
Oh my God.
Now, what were you thinking? Were you trying to figure out, okay, how do I get away from this guy?
Absolutely. And I did consciously catalog all of these different pieces, details about his face, details about the route that we were going. And looking back, I'm not sure what enabled me to have that really sense of reality at that moment. But it was a really intense experience, just feeling completely powerless.
I want to also bring in, we have Stephen Kardian, who is with us. He is the creator of Fight Like a Girl. It's a self-defense program designed for young women just like Angela. Steve, let me ask you, you heard Angela's story. It sounds like one that you've heard many times. You've been a police officer. You've trained women how to protect themselves. Tell me, as you hear this story, sounds familiar?
Yes, it does, Governor. And I have to say right off that people like Angela are my heroes, that she survived and she's thriving and she's doing real good and good things today. But yeah, the most important thing that we look at in a situation like this is that a woman needs to rely on that good gift of intuition. We all have it. However, oftentimes we put it aside, and that's when bad things happen. So if we give anybody, it's kind of like we're the only beings on Earth that don't listen to that thought. It's like the deer walking through the woods, and you step on a twig, and they're gone. They're not waiting to see what's laying ahead. But it's the good gift of it. Intuition is your first line of defense.
What is the likelihood that someone like Angela will survive an attack like she experienced, where she was actually abducted, taken from that location?
Governor, 90% of the time, if you're taken from point A to point B, or the primary crime scene to the secondary crime scene, it's more than a 90% chance that you're not coming back alive. So she's the exception to the rule. She managed that real well.
How are you supposed to keep yourself at the first location? So it's a rarity. How are you supposed to keep yourself at the first location? But screaming, kicking, I mean, what's the...
What are you doing? He has in his mind the compliant fear factor, that you're going to comply with his wishes through fear. When you ruin his plan and fight back, yell, scream, drop to the ground, even if he's got a gun or a knife, he'd likely move on to an easier target.
Interesting.
A little later in the show, we're going to actually have Steve do some demonstrations. Don't go away, because when we come back, more on guarding your girls. Stay with us.
Most people freeze. They don't know what to do.